Hi everyone, I'm just about to read you a story. A Tale of Two Cities, written by Charles Dickens. This is a storybook that I am reading to you. A storybook written to intermediate and upper intermediate students that helps them to advance their English. This storybook is published by Oxford Bookworm Library, copyrighted by Oxford University Press, and the text adaptation is done by Rolf Moet. You can read the story, or listen to me reading it to you, and learn English at the same time. A Tale of Two Cities is a novel. It's a historical novel published in 1859 by Charles Dickens, set in London and France. So, A Tale of Two Cities, these two cities are London and France. It starts before the French Revolution and continues during the French Revolution. So, chapter 1. The Road to Paris, 1775. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of sadness. So it was a year that some people were hopeful, that some people were disappointed, maybe. A year that good things happened and a year that bad things happened. Season of light, season of darkness. Spring of hope, winter of sadness. The year 1775. It is introducing us the year. It was the year of 1775. So, now we know that we are at 1775. In France, there was a king and a queen. And in England, there was a king and a queen. Yeah, two cities, France and England, and their kings and queens. They believed that nothing would ever change. But in France, things were bad and getting worse. The people were poor, hungry, and unhappy. The king made paper money and spent it. Now, do you know the meaning of paper money? Paper money is money in the form of paper. Money in the form of banknotes. Banknotes. The king made paper money and spent it. And the people had nothing to eat. Behind closed doors, in the homes of the people, voices spoke in whispers against the king. Now, what's the meaning of whisper? Do you know? People spoke in whispers. Whisper means speak very softly, using your breath rather than your throat. Like this. Hey, I want to tell you a secret. I am whispering now. Talking to someone very softly and quietly so that nobody else can understand. People spoke, voices spoke in whispers against the king and his noblemen. Noblemen? What kind of people are noblemen? A man of high birth, like a princess, like a prince, like a king. That they live in a castle, for example. They have a high social position, like a lord. So these people are noblemen. Again, behind closed doors, up here, behind closed doors, in the homes of the people, voices spoke in whispers against the king and his noblemen. They were only whispers. but they were the angry whispers of desperate people. Late one November night, in that same year 1775, late means around the end of, around the end of, around the end of one November night. In that same year, a coach going from London to Dover stopped at the top of a long hill. A coach with horses. The horses were tired, but as they rested, the driver heard another horse coming fast up the hill behind them. The rider stopped his horse behind the coach and shouted, "I want a passenger, Mr. Jarvis Lorry, from Tellson's Bank in London." It was the rider, it was the horse rider that was riding the coach. He shouted, "I want a passenger, Mr. Jarvis Lorry." Another voice, "I am Mr. Jarvis Lorry," said one of the passengers, putting his head out of the window. It was a window. Mr. Jarvis Lorry, he put his head out of the window and said, "What do you want?" Mr. Jarvis. So now we have two characters, rider, coach rider, and Mr. Jarvis. "It's me, Jerry Cruncher, from Tellson's Bank, sir," cried the man on the horse. Cry means shout loudly. When you cry, you shout loudly. "It's me, Jerry Cruncher, from Tellson's Bank, sir," crying. So we have two characters now. Mr. Jarvis Mr. Lorry, and Jerry. We have two characters. The blue lines are Lorry's lines. "What's the matter, Jerry?" called Mr. Lorry. And now another voice. Jerry. "A message for you, Mr. Lorry. You've got to wait at Dover for a young lady." These are They're Jerry's lines. "Very well, Jerry," said Mr. Lorry. "Tell them my answer is, come back to life." What? Come back to life? What does this even mean? Well, obviously, Mr. Lorry is a mysterious man. He might have secrets. It was a strange message. And a strange answer. No one in the coach understood what they meant. The next day, Mr. Lorry was sitting in his hotel in Dover. So Lorry went to Dover to meet the young girl. When a young lady arrived, she was pretty, with golden hair and blue eyes, and Mr. Lorry remembered a small child, almost a baby. So Mr. Lorry knew the girl already. He had carried her in his arms when he came from Calais to Dover. Calais is a city in France, and Dover in England. So Mr. Lorry knew the baby and carried her when she was a baby from France to England. Many years ago, when she was a baby, Mr. Lorry asked the young lady to sit down. "Miss Manette," he said, "I have a strange story to tell you about one of the customers of Tellson's Bank. That's where I work." Now we know where Mr. Lorry works. He works at the Tellson's Bank. Now we have two characters talking to each other. A young lady and Mr. Lorry. Now we have the picture. Yes. Now the young lady is talking. Yes, but I don't quite understand, Mr. Lorry, said the young lady. I received a message from Towson's bank asking me to come here to meet you. I understood there was some news about my poor father's money. So, the young lady's father has some maybe money in the bank, in the Towson's bank, and Mr. Lorry is here about that. Again, I understood there was some news about my poor father's money. He died so long ago, before I was born. What is this story you want to tell me? What is this story you want to tell me? The young lady and Lorry. Now, Lorry knows something about past, and he's going to tell in the next slide. Now, Mr. Lorry starts to tell their story. About 20 years ago, Miss Manette, a French doctor married an English lady from two different countries, a French doctor and an English lady. They had a daughter, but just before she was born, her father disappeared. Disappeared means he got lost. He went missing. He disappeared. Nobody knew what had happened to him. Not long afterwards, his unhappy wife died, and their daughter was brought back to England. Who is the girl? Now, the young lady. But this is like my father's story, Mr. Lorry. And wasn't it you who brought me back to England? Yes, it was. Lorry. Yes, that's true, Miss Manette. Many years ago, I brought you from England from France to England, and Towson's bank has taken care of you since then. You were told that your father had died. But think, Mr. Manette, perhaps your father wasn't dead. Perhaps he was in prison, not because he had done something wrong, but just because he had a powerful enemy. An enemy with the power to send him to prison and to keep him there, hidden and forgotten for 18 years. This is getting exciting. Now, Miss Manette, can it be true? Is it possible that my father is still alive? Lucie Manette stared at Mr. Lorry. Her face was white, and her hands trembled, shaking. It will be his ghost, not him. Now, Lorry. No, Miss Manette, said Mr. Lorry gently. He is alive, but he has changed very much. Even his name has been forgotten, and we must ask no questions about the past. No questions at all. Still, Mr. Lorry is speaking. It would be too dangerous. He has been taken to the house of an old servant in Paris, and we are going there to bring him back to life. This was for now. This was chapter 1. So their journey begins. Mr. Lorry and Miss Manette, they want to go on a journey, an adventure, to find the missing father. Now, Do you know the meaning of these words? Paper money, whisper, a nobleman, cry, and tremble. Thank you all for watching. Follow the rest of the story in the next video. So long.